Welcome to Wizard World Virtual Experiences. I'm Jerry Milani, and today we're going to celebrate Veterans Day a couple of days early with an important charity, an important group here, does outstanding work, and I'm sure you'll agree, and I'm sure you'll want to benefit this group as well and support this group when you learn more about it. Pinups for Vets, it's a great organization. We'll talk about them and get them on in just a minute. Want to remind everyone, though, coming up on Wizard World Virtual Experiences in the next few days, on Thursday, we have Last Fan Standing, that fun, nerdy, geeky game show with Bruce Campbell. That's on Thursday. On Friday, we have the director, writer, and star of an independent film called Nothing from Something. That's Chris Pirillo. He'll be with us on Friday. Saturday, a doubleheader. We've got Power Rangers Villains, followed by Pirates of the Caribbean. And then on Sunday, November 22nd, it's Hercules, the Legendary Journeys. Kevin Sorbo and a couple other folks from Hercules will be with us a week from Sunday. And don't forget, wizardworldvirtual.com is the place to find out all those schedules, learn more, to pick up live video chats, autographs, recorded videos of your favorite celebrities that are coming up, as well as today, you'll be able to get live video chats. It's a 1-on-5 live video chat today, but it's coming up right at the top of the next hour, 11 o'clock Eastern and 11 o'clock Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern. So you'll need to go right now if you're interested in those live video chats with today's guests, the Pinups for Vets. So go to wizardworldvirtual.com for that. Wizard World Vault also has 25 plus years of merchandise we've culled over all of our pop culture festivals and conventions we've done over all that time, plus more. wizardworldvault.com for all of that. And whether you're watching right now on Twitch or Facebook or YouTube, go into that chat room right now. If you have questions for these ladies, you'll want to get those in. We'll get to as many of those as we can in the next half hour, 40 minutes or so. And then don't forget, go right now to wizardworldvirtual.com, click on the Pinups for Vets link right there, and you can purchase those 1-on-5 video chats or the combos with the 1-on-5 video chat plus the calendar, which is the focus of what we're talking about today. For 15 years, Pinups for Vets has been raising funds to improve veterans' healthcare, support veterans' hospitals, aid homeless vets, boost morale for military wives and female veterans. Today, we have the founder and president and 4 veteran ambassadors to talk about this great cause and their work to help veterans all across the country. She's the president and founder of Pinups for Vets. Here is the great Gina Elise. Hi, Gina.
Hi, Jerry. Thank you so much for having us today.
My goodness. Welcome to Wizard World. I'm going to get out of your way so you can introduce the other stars of today.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much for having us. This is a very important week, kicking off with Marine Corps birthday and then Veterans Day. So thank you so much to all of our incredible troops and veterans out there. We have a very special panel today. I wanted to introduce them one at a time. They are all veterans, all female veterans that have stepped up to serve our country. And in addition, they are ambassadors with our nonprofit, Pinups for Vets, which you guys can find more about at pinupsforvets.com. But these ladies have come on multiple VA hospital visits with us. They are featured in our Pinups for Vets calendars. Let me kick off with Navy veteran Jennifer Marshall. You may recognize Jen from Stranger Things. She's the host of CW's Mysteries Decoded. She's been on many TV shows, Hawaii Five-0, NCIS. Hello, Jennifer.
Hi, Gina, and hello, everyone out there. Thank you so much for having me, and happy Veterans Day week, right?
That's what I say. All right, next up is Shannon Corbell, Air Force veteran. You may also recognize Shannon from TV. She has been featured on The Rookie and SEAL Team. Hello, Shannon.
Hi, everyone. And I'm very mindful of that meme about trying to celebrate Veterans Day before the Marine Corps birthday. So shout out to all vets and especially Marines this week. I'll give it to you.
Next up is Army veteran Lindsay Russo. And be sure to listen to Lindsay's voice. You may recognize her from the Transformers as Alita 1.
Hey guys, so happy to be here. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, this is going to be a really exciting week with all the Veterans Day celebrations going on. Yeah, very excited.
And last but not least, we have Miss Megan Martine, the Marine. And Megan has been a cosplayer for years and years and years. If you want to follow Megan on our social media, she is constantly posting pictures of her incredible costumes. Megan, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, Gina. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and excited about my Marine Corps birthday tomorrow, and of course, Veterans Day the day after. I mean, heck of a week, and shout out to all the veterans out there joining us today. Thank you.
So thank you, ladies, so much for taking the time to join us. Thank you all for your service to our country. I wanted to start off, if you ladies could tell us a little bit about your military service. You know, what did you do in the military? I guess we'll just start off the way that we introduced Jennifer.
So I grew up in a town with one stoplight. Now it has three, and I was a fifth generation vet. So I just decided I need to join. I need to get out of here. I want to forge my own path. So it was really a matter of whichever recruiter contacted me the first. So go Navy, because he was very on top of things. I served for 5 years. I deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. When I was in, I worked in aviation logistics on the repair locker fire team. I was the only female firefighter. Hey. And I was on the ship security defense force team. So I did so much in the military, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity to serve this wonderful nation.
I remember the order. I'm next. I joined after 9/11, so I did a pretty big pivot. It surprised everyone because I had always been doing theater and chorus and the arts and everything. But after 9/11, I think a lot of people felt like they wanted to take part in what was going on in the world. So I did Air Force ROTC at Loyola Marymount University. I commissioned when I graduated, and I did intelligence. So I worked in support of the A-10s at Osan Air Base in Korea, and then I did cyber threat analysis at the NSA.
Lindsay?
Oh, sorry. I forgot the order. Yeah, I joined after I graduated from college. I enlisted in the Army as a combat photographer and public affairs sergeant. I then got sent to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, to the 101st Airborne Division, and was part of the 3-person public affairs team for the 1st Brigade Combat Team. I deployed to the northern Iraq province of Kirkuk from 2005 to 2006. I was there for their first elections, which was very interesting. I was the first woman at my unit, and I was the only person who did my job in my unit of 4,000 people, and so it was a really interesting time to be over there. And then, yeah, I spent about 4 years in the Army before I was medically discharged, and then went on to do graduate school, and then found my way full circle from where I started my life back in theater, and then transitioning into on-camera and voiceover.
Hi, everybody. I'm Megan, Marine Corps veteran. I actually a lot more boring than the other sisters I have here. When I joined, it was actually pretty quiet. So I joined in '95. I served until 2002. Did not go forward at all, stayed in the rear the entire time. So I was stationed at Camp Pendleton as a truck driver, 3531. So shout out to all the truck drivers out there. Worked at Edson Range, and then I also worked at the 1MEF over there at Camp Delmar. Supported the G4, did CLS and UNS over there, and it was excellent, outstanding. I had a wonderful time, and I wouldn't change it for anything. So thank you.
How incredible are these ladies, you guys? Ladies, I did want to read Amber Elise's comment. She said, "Love these ladies. I work for the VA, and they are my official calendar in my office."
Right on. Thanks, Amber.
Thank you for your service, ladies. You are all beautiful. Thank you so much, Amber, for your support. So, ladies, thank you so much for letting us know a little bit about your service. You are all connected in some way to the world of superheroes, the supernatural, and we want to know how. Jennifer?
So I host a show on the CW called Mysteries Decoded, and in real life, I am a licensed private investigator in the state of California. So the show has me go out and look at historical, but also paranormal mysteries. And I'm always paired up with an expert in the field, and we try to determine what really happened. So some of the past episodes, we looked at Lizzie Borden, what's in Area 51, what crashed in Roswell in 1947, does Bigfoot exist? All of the episodes are available at cwseed.com for free to watch. And some people may also know me as Max's mom on Stranger Things, which has been, the most incredible honor to be a part of that show. And it's really a cultural phenomenon.
Jen, going back to Mysteries Decoded, do you believe in the supernatural now?
I was very much a skeptic when I started hosting the show, but the more that we looked into things, there were certain things that I wanted so badly to explain through science or happenstance, and there's still some things that I'm not able to explain. So I think I've shifted my thoughts a little bit as to the world is so big and so wide and so wonderful, and we don't really understand the universe. So I'm less likely to kind of put something away and say, no, it can't exist, because there's no proof that certain things don't exist. So I think the show has made me a little more open-minded. I'm an open-minded skeptic.
Very good. Thank you, Jen. All right, Shannon, how are you connected?
I'm a closed-minded skeptic. No, I want to believe. For me, the connection started as a kid. Nerddoms, if I can break it down to something simple, have captured my imagination and my fascination and my passion for my entire life. So it started out and will always be that I'm a huge fan of all of these good versus evil epic storytelling. As an actor, I can't wait until I get to be part of those different franchises on screen. And in the meantime, I really enjoy covering them through editorial articles online. I'm also a writer. A lot of my nerdy content has been on wearethemighty.com. And I have a professional Comic-Con badge. I've been able to start going and covering different panels and meeting different writers and all the people who work to tell us those stories, which makes it so much fun.
Shannon, no, you've attended, multiple conventions, right? What do you think has been your favorite panel that you've seen?
So my favorite panels tend to be the writers' panels. And that's probably also because I'm a writer, but for me, it's always the storytelling first. So I love getting to hear the people who are creating those stories, who are imagining them, and getting to hear what their inspiration was and behind the scenes and how they got their first jobs and what they are watching. And so those tend to be my favorites. But there is a lot of energy in those big, huge, like in a Marvel room. I mean, the lines, people will wait all night to even get in the room. So yeah, you can't go wrong.
Lindsay, what about you? Now I want to make sure you guys listen to Lindsay's voice.
Kind of like Shannon, I've been a geek my entire life. Star Wars had a massive impact on me when I was a child. And then just anything and everything sci-fi, and like when The Matrix came out, I remember seeing that in theaters and it just blew my mind. And then I didn't grow up reading comic books, but got into them later in life. I know I'm not the only lady here, but I've got my shirt on. When Kelly Sue DeConnick released Captain Marvel in 2006, that just like really energized me, because I finally, and I'd enjoyed, the X-Men and other things, but she was finally a character that I was like, oh man, I love her. Everything about her really spoke to me, because she's a veteran. She's a huge Star Wars geek. But then, when I returned to acting, I grew up acting, but when I returned to acting and then finally pivoted into voiceover, I really found my niche in video games. It's actually the reason I got into voiceover. So I've been thankful to voice a lot of AAA video games: Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls, Call of Duty, Rage 2, NBA 2K21, and then being able to do Transformers, which is such a massive franchise and has a huge fan base. And the character of Alita 1 was really close to my heart, because she's a soldier, she's a leader. If the guys would just listen to her more, we wouldn't be in the situation we are in, but it's fine. It's fine. But no, you can catch Transformers on Netflix. Season 1's already out. Season 2's coming soon. And I also, I've gone to conventions for years and years and years, and and now I'm executive producer for Fabled 42, which is a D&D streaming network. I host a geek talk show every Wednesday called The Rollout, and I stream D&D. multiple times a week. So yeah, geekdom has consumed my life and has also been my sanity during COVID and quarantine and everything.
Lindsay, what was the moment like when you realized that you had actually scored that role as the lead?
Well, it was crazy because I didn't know, because in voiceover it's very common to not know what you're auditioning for. So I had no idea what the audition was for. The callback was like 4 months later. I'd totally forgotten that I'd auditioned for this, and it wasn't until I went into the studio for the callback that they told me, and I was like, not nervous. I'm not nervous. This is fine. This is fine. I can do this. But it was really exciting. It was really exciting because it's always hard when you're stepping into a franchise that's got such a big following. But I feel like I was kind of lucky because Alita 1 actually doesn't have a lot of on-camera exposure. She was in a little bit of the early cartoons, but she's got a really good story in the comics. So I didn't feel like I had to worry about who had played her before, as opposed to some of the other roles in the show.
Your friends ask you now, like, Lindsay, can you please leave me voice messages?
Yeah, not yet, but
I'll be the first one to request that then.
There we go. I'll do it instead.
I have another request. I think that you should DM Pinups D&D session. I think this needs to happen, right?
I am 100% down to do that. Yeah, we do charity. And for those of you who are tuning in, actually, this is another reason this week is really important. The Wounded Warrior Project is our official charity at Fabled 42, and we are streaming all week in support of them. For 9/11, we ran a 24-hour dungeon crawl, 24-hour stream. We raised $3,000 for the Wounded Warrior Project. So we have a really strong partnership for them because we are a veteran-founded organization. Our founder is a vet. I'm a vet. We've got several others. So I would love to do stuff with Pinups because you ladies are my world.
Thank you, Lindsay. All right, Megan. Now, your costumes that I have seen, your cosplay is so elaborate. You take so much time and dedication. How many years have you been doing this for?
About 10, like dedicated, but yeah, I've been, I don't know, in the nerd world since very early, since the, shoot, I was born in 76, so you can just tell you how long I've been doing this. But yeah, no, it started with comic books. I was very heavily into Marvel Universe. If you all are familiar with that, I'm sure some of you may be. The actual Marvel Universe, where it gives like the index of all the characters and things like that. And then I really, my character that I love that will always be around with me, of course, Spawn, because Al Simmons is a Marine Corps veteran, and and because I really love anti-heroes too. So I'm a fan of anti-heroes a lot. My inspiration for my costumes, it's funny because a lot of the times they're the ones that aren't as common, or they're older. And so I like to kind of bring up the obscure characters and things like that and kind of bring them to life. And then I get a lot more questions too from people like, oh, okay, well, what's this G.I. Joe Cobra about, or things like that. And of course I'm thinking in my head, how could you not know G.I. Joe? But, but then I get into the details and things like that. And it's really fun to explain to the newer generations who aren't always familiar. But they want to know. So I love the teaching back of things like that. And yeah, so it's always fun to explore something different every year. Like I've been asked, I haven't done Wonder Woman yet. I said, because Wonder Woman was at a point, at the peak for such a long time, and everybody was cosplaying Wonder Woman. So I'm gonna let it die down a little bit, and then then I'll probably bring her to life. So
Megan, what do you like best about the conventions and about the whole vibe?
I'd say definitely the energy, the creativity. Sometimes I'll have my costumes commissioned if I don't have a lot of time to put them together, or sometimes I'll put them together myself. Kind of depends. But I'd say the creativity involved, I am hugely fascinated. I kind of want to take pictures of everybody else's cosplay because it's so cool, and just really admiring the time and effort and creativity that goes into it. And but definitely just yeah, I'd say that's my favorite thing. Of course, you see people, stars going out and nobody knows who they are. It's always kind of a fun thing too, to know that you were talking to a movie star and they were in costume. But the panels are great, but definitely the camaraderie within the cosplay community is fantastic. Seeing more and more veterans in there too is great. I've been seeing tons more, I'd say, over the past five so years. I've seen it just explode. So there's veteran cosplay pages out there that I see too that I like, and so yeah, it's really fun to see. I love it.
So if you guys are just tuning in, you will learn that these ladies are all veterans. They have all stepped up to serve our country. And after their service, they are continuing to serve with our nonprofit, Pinups for Vets, with other nonprofits. They call it service after service. They dress up. I mean, we kind of do our own cosplay, right? We dress up 1940s style, and we deliver our calendars in as gifts of appreciation to veterans hospitals nationwide. We've visited with over 15,000 veterans, and it's very special for the patients to meet these ladies because, you know, they're dressed up in their 1940s attire. And the patients don't often expect that they are veterans. And so there's that amazing veteran to veteran bond. You know, I'll introduce them. Oh, well, here's Megan. She's a Marine Corps veteran. Here's Jennifer. She's a Navy veteran. And the patients will say, wait, she's a veteran too? Yeah, she's a veteran. And, you know, there's just something very, very magical about that bond. And so I would encourage you all be sure to check out pinupsforvets.com to find out more info about our organization and what we do and these incredible ladies. So you ladies are all superheroes to me. You know that. I want to know, who are your favorite superheroes and why? Jennifer.
So I'm totally old school. I grew up watching Linda Carter as Wonder Woman, and I grew up with Christopher Reeve as Superman and Michael Keaton as Batman. So I always go back to watching those movies as a kid. And I'm also kind of a sucker for Dean Cain, who was Superman on Lois and Clark. Those are like my jams, the old school original sort of superheroes. And on a side note, Megan, I just realized after 5 years of being friends what your Instagram handle means. So thank you for sharing that. And now I feel ashamed because we've been friends for 5 years and I never knew.
And you guys be sure to shout out, you know, at this part what your social media handles is, because I know that, you know, people would love to follow you.
Mine is facebook.com/actress Jennifer Marshall. And on Twitter and Instagram, I'm Jen13, Jen13, JENN13, JENN13.
Jen, have you ever dressed up as Linda Carter?
I haven't. I should. I don't have the thighs for it, but I should.
Don't you dare disparage your body. She's like, you want.
She's like amazing. I need
You're
to do
amazing.
it, but just got to work on it a little bit.
I think you should. That would be epic, Jen.
Yeah, it would.
Shannon.
You know, I don't know how I could ever pick a favorite. And right now is such a great time for people who are getting into these stories. I remember when I was a kid and I would go to the library and I would look on the sci-fi fantasy shelves to try to find books that had women on the cover. And it was pretty difficult to find them. You know, when I first started watching Star Wars, I was in love with Jedi lore, and the only Jedi Knights were men. And in the books, Leia had, you know, the Force, and she was getting to explore it. But I didn't get to see that on screen until episode 7, I think, with Rey. And so right now we've got a reimagining of Wonder Woman, where she's this super strong badass who also is deeply compassionate and is fighting with love. We've got Captain Marvel, who's a real military veteran. We've got so many, and women are starting to get standalone films as well. We're seeing so much diversity. So I don't know how I could choose. I couldn't. Please don't make me. You've got Buffy, you've got Hermione Granger, you've got so many. And anti-heroes too. We're getting really cool female anti-hero stories. The first season of Jessica Jones on Netflix is one of my favorite seasons of television ever.
She's amazing.
It's so great. Yeah. So I can't choose, and I won't, Gina.
All right, Lindsay, what about you?
I feel like Shannon and I are like kindred spirits. Yeah, because growing up, there wasn't a lot of female representation. So like with Star Wars, I went to the books and everything because there were so many great female characters in the books because there was a lot of female writers writing them. On the comic side of things, obviously Carol Danvers will always have a special part, you know, special place in my heart. But, you know, when I was a little kid, it was Rogue of the X-Men. I loved Rogue. And then Jessica Jones, just like when I read all the Alias comics, I was just like, this woman is amazing. She tries to do the right thing, but she's flawed. And then the show came out. But yeah, like she said, this is really a heyday now for women. I mean, and women, diverse women, like we now have Kamala Khan, you know, who is finally going to be introduced into the MCU as the new Miss Marvel. And, you know, obviously Black Widow, you know, we've had her for years. I was also a big fan of Stumptown. Also, the woman in Stumptown, she is a veteran. And she, I feel like, is the most accurate representation of the female veteran experience, because like she doesn't hide her PTSD. She's struggling with it. She's like, self-medicating with alcohol, but she's still getting herself together, and she's still moving forward with her life, but that will always be a part of her life. And I love these characters that are flawed but also really strong, and just aren't afraid to stand up to the status quo. So
thank you, Lindsay. Megan, what about you? Favorite and why?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, Spawn comics. Okay, I've been following them since 1993. They've been out since 1992. My favorite character, of course, is Angela. I don't know if you guys can see her, but she's my favorite Valkyrie, and she actually is, well, now she belongs to Marvel. But anyway, when she did belong to the original writer, I would say, definitely, it was her and Spawn all the time. They were, enemies, but they'd have a commonality in there. If you read the different series of Spawn, you'll see their relationship. Definitely testy, definitely, one trying to do one thing, one good and evil, but at the same time, they had a lot of similarities too. So I've always really been favorable of that character myself. I actually had some pieces commissioned. I know. And by the way, the one important thing, when Jen said she didn't do cosplay, okay, last Halloween, we did actually do a cosplay. So Jen did Max from Stranger Things, and I did Dustin. So we actually did it wasn't, really formal, but we did it. So that was actually really awesome.
And it was good. Gosh darn it, it was good.
I think so, right?
It was glorious.
And, and I'd say, definitely, Angela from Spawn. There's so many others too that I draw inspiration from, both, female and male, so it kind of just depends on my mood, really, just what I'm willing to do. But yeah, Angela's my favorite. Spawn, I'm sure I'll probably do some version of him someday. There is a she Spawn too, so can always go that way with everything. But yeah, that's the one. That's my favorite for sure.
Thank you, Megan. We have Neil from Afghanistan is tuning in. Thank you, Neil, so much for tuning in. It's kind of an interesting correlation that I wanted to talk about with you ladies, because, I know that you have often mentioned to me that people do not assume that you're a veteran because of your gender. People think that, it's your husband that's the veteran, or there's just sometimes people default to the fact that default to thinking that a veteran is a man. And I know that you ladies being out there and, being in the calendar, and we're, doing media a lot, I think it's, at least I hope that it's starting to break the stereotype, of what a veteran is. These incredible ladies, as everyone can see, have stepped up to serve our country. And I do think that there needs to be, a spotlight on women. We have this younger generation of girls that's coming up, and they're looking up to you ladies. We often get emails that say, thank you, these ladies are an inspiration to my daughter. So I wanted to thank you ladies for that. But I hear you, Shannon and Lindsay, talk about how important it is now to have representation, for women as superheroes too. And I don't know, I guess I wanted to talk to you ladies about kind of both those things, about, representation for women in the military, and then in the superhero world, and why that's important.
So I think things have gotten a lot better, thankfully. I know when I first started auditioning for roles in Hollywood, I would hear a lot of like, you're a veteran, which it took me a long time to try to understand where people were coming from with that. And I tried to kindly educate people. But now it has turned into, I used to never be able to book anything veteran related or service member related because I didn't look military. As to now, I book a good amount of military roles, and casting generally brings me in if they have something that's military. So if I've been able to see that shift in the last 7 years in Hollywood, then I'm really grateful as to what is going to come. And Gina, you touched on that it's important to have representation, and that younger women look up to women who have served, or women in the military community. And I think that's really, really important. And sometimes people will tell me, well, what do you care? You're not in the military anymore. Why do you take it so seriously? What does it matter? It matters because if I didn't have female role models to look up to, I never would have joined the military. And I do feel that the military is a amazing thing for a lot of people. And I want women to be able to make that choice for themselves as to whether or not they'd like to join, as opposed to just, well, I don't see any female veterans, I don't see any female service members, so maybe it's not for me. So I do think it's really important, the work that we do, to show that we are here and we are sharing our stories and we're not going anywhere.
Now, Jen, you've played an airman, right, on Hawaii Five-0. You've played a Marine on NCIS. Have you ever played a sailor?
I've played a sailor in commercials. I've played a sailor in commercials. The only branch I have not played is Coast Guard.
Okay.
So casting directors, listen here.
But it's nice to hear, Jen, that you are seeing a change, that there's a shift.
Yes, in the past 7 years, I can only speak for myself, but that's quite the difference. Not ever being brought in for military roles and kind of being looked at in disbelief, as opposed to, okay, that is our military gal, she's our go-to. That has been a very, very welcome change.
Yeah, I can jump in. I agree with those sentiments. I mean, both of my television credits have been military and police roles, which is great because it shows that at the very bottom of the totem pole, we're starting to see representation. And this is why storytelling is so impactful. This is why humans have been telling these epic legends for as long as we've codified our language and storytelling, is that we look to our stories and our heroes to get an idea of how the human experience behaves. And so when we start to see more women on screen and see women in those hero roles on screen, it normalizes that. It makes it so that it doesn't seem so surprising, so new, so unprecedented. And it not only inspires the women who want to be leaders and who want to be part of these types of be part of the military and take a stand. It also helps show men what it looks like to serve with women. And because I'm seeing it in the comments, I think that in our society still, men are considered strong until they prove themselves to be weak, and women are considered weak unless they prove themselves to be strong. And that's just not true. So it's how we're raising young girls, it's how we're raising young boys, it's and of course there's an entire spectrum of gender roles and normatives, and the entire conversation around that is so complex. But I think that what these different hero stories are showing us is that anyone can be a hero.
Now, Shannon, you were telling me the other day, for you guys that don't know, Shannon was an intel officer in the Air Force. She was a captain. The percentage, that you were telling me is sort of a small percentage, right, in the group that you served with, of women.
Well, and in the Air Force, especially as an Air Force officer, I think we have the highest percentage of women who serve, somewhere around maybe 25%. These are, and it gets smaller as you go Navy, Army, Marine Corps. So I think any time throughout my experience, it was under 30% women. So it's still definitely a male dominated environment, but I think less and less will women be discounted just at face value.
What are your thoughts, Lindsay, on this?
Yeah, for me in my career, I actually have kind of been shoehorned into that military role, like NCIS, I was a cop, General Hospital, I was a prison guard. The reason I do so many video games is because I am the woman who can scream and die and yell and shout because of, in part because of my military experience. Because I guess they think I bring authenticity to it. I play a lot of soldier characters in video games. But for me, I was so excited when combat roles were opened up to women, because when I got to my unit, like I said, I was the first woman at my 4,000 Brigade unit. The guys, mostly infantry, had just gotten back from the initial invasion in Iraq, and they were like, who is this chick? And who is this chick with a camera? And it took me a year of training side by side with them for them to get comfortable with me and understand, okay, she's not a liability. She knows what she's doing. But that's something a guy wouldn't have to do. A guy just shows up and they're like, cool, you're part of the team. Whereas I had to literally prove I could carry my own weight. And I carried a lot more than they did because of all the camera equipment. And so, hopefully that is getting easier for women now who are going into the military nowadays. It's obviously still going to be there. And kind of to Jen's point, I feel like in Hollywood, the female veteran experience is getting better represented. They're showing women in military roles that aren't just like the secretaries and the lawyers and, the office jobs. Like now we're starting to see women in actual combat roles, which is something we didn't see very often 10, 15 years ago. And I think that's also why we're seeing the success of some of these big blockbuster superhero shows, because people are finally realizing that, oh yes, a big strong woman who can beat people up is something we believe now. And whether or not there's an actual correlation between the two, I don't know, but I think society as a whole is definitely becoming much more accepting of the fact that women can be in these action roles, women can be in these combat roles, and it's no longer as much of an anomaly as it used to be, hopefully. And hopefully it keeps going that way.
Megan, what about you?
Well, mine I think is a little odd because I don't know, I've been a huge tomboy my whole life, huge, and so been able to get along very well with both sides of the fence. When I was in the military, I didn't see or get any questions about me being a veteran or not. I mean, either I did and I just didn't think about it, or I didn't, it wasn't memorable enough to me to rationalize, I guess. But I don't know. I think my first female military heroes were my drill instructors, of course. They're phenomenal. All of them that I dealt with in both my platoon and my sister platoon. All creeds, all ages, all amazing. Learned lots of different things from each one of them. So that really set the stage for, what I kind of held the standard for females in the Marine Corps to be. And to tell you the truth, some of you male Marines may know this too, if you're with us, but female Marines are hardest on female Marines. And so I felt like the male Marines, they're male Marines, camaraderie's good, got along with them all. But I tell you, if there was something going on that a fellow sister Marine didn't like, you either talk to them or yell at them. It's one of two ways. But actually, it was one of the things that I really enjoyed was being a mentor to a lot of young Marines that came in after me. It's hard to acclimate to when you go to college, what the female to male ratio. I don't know what it is. I went to college online, but I do know that in the service, it's astounding the number of male Marines to female Marines, and so you get kind of protective, especially of the ones who grew up in the middle of nowhere, and then all of a sudden they're getting a lot of attention from a lot of people, and so they just they're not quite sure what to do sometimes with that kind of attention, and so I actually really enjoyed mentoring a lot of the young ladies and just letting them know, hey, you can be you, but just be aware of this or be aware of that. I never vilified them at all because that's not what they needed. But I really enjoyed it, and I think that there are a lot of great ladies in right now. My goodness, it's phenomenal. And I stay connected with some of my drill instructors. Definitely a lot of my sisters that I serve with in boot camp and beyond. And of course, the wonderful vets we have here. Stand-up ladies, all of them, and so yeah. I mean, proud of you, Gina, for rounding up such an amazing crew. I tell you.
I just wanted to add one more thing. I think one of the really telling moments this year for women in the military was Ruth Bader Ginsburg's funeral. And if anyone was paying attention, there was a woman who was part of that funeral procession with the casket, and she was part of the first graduating class of the first women able to graduate from Ranger School. And so nobody has really talked about it, but you'll see a bun on one of those people, one of those pallbearers with that military procession. And that was, for me, that was a really exciting moment.
Ty Mac 93 is saying you guys should do a cosplay photo shoot.
We should.
We should.
That would be pretty epic, Ty. Thank you. Ladies, I wanted to just go through with you your most memorable moment in the military.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my. I would say there was a time when I was deployed in 2003. We were the first battle group. I was on the USS Roosevelt, and the USS Roosevelt and the USS Harry S. Truman were the first two battle groups in the Mediterranean that worked in tandem during Operation Iraqi Freedom. And I remember we were the night carrier, they were the day carrier. And I remember being amazed. I was probably 20 at that time. And I remember just being amazed how seamlessly everyone worked together and how everything was, it was just like some sort of weird coordinated dance, and everyone was working together. It was service over self. It was team over me. And that was the first time that I had really seen that in action, because we were working probably 14 to 16 hours a day, and everyone was exhausted, everyone was tired. But the consensus was, regardless of whether or not there were WMDs in Iraq, Saddam Hussein was a horrible dictator who tortured his own people, and everyone wanted to see him removed from power. So that was probably my most memorable experience, walking through the hangar bay, seeing all of the aircraft come in, everyone work together, and everyone really being proud to be there and to make a difference on the world stage.
Jen, did you ever get seasick?
Only one time. On a carrier, it barely moves, but we did go through a tropical storm, or maybe it was even a hurricane, and there were a lot of us in the middle of the hangar bay, because if you're at the front, if you're at the aft or the aft, the back, or the forward of the ship, it moves a lot more. So there was a bunch of us who were in the hangar bay and we all had bags. It was only one time because carriers don't move, but it was pretty bad. I didn't feel so bad because there were some pretty salty old sailors who also had a bag who were in the hangar bay with us. And a bag, I mean like a bag.
I just want to say it's interesting that you mentioned that, you know, as your memory, because I feel like that carries, like, that trait, you know, you carry that into today. Like I can just see how you love working with people and how you love when so many people come together, you know, to make a mission happen. And so I feel like that was so ingrained in you.
Absolutely. And I remember it like it was yesterday. And that's part of the reason why 17 years after separating from the service, I joined the California State Guard, because I couldn't just let it go. And I wanted to wear the uniform again. And I wanted to be part of a team that works toward a higher goal. And that's really been wonderful to do that again.
Shannon, what about you? Favorite moment?
It's hard to pick a favorite moment. So I'm going to pick a favorite person. When I was a cadet, there was our detachment commander, Colonel McIntosh, was one of the most incredible and profound leaders that I had ever met and that I've ever known in my life. And what he taught us with his leadership and through his actions was how to take care of people. It was always mission first, people always. And he knew our names, our families' names, our pet names, where we were from. He knew everything about us, like blood panel. He knew everything. It was incredible to see him in action. He also taught us how important morale was, and how important creativity was, and how important it was to find the strengths of everyone on your team and to empower them. And so it was his leadership that really left an impact on me and showed me the kind of leader that I wanted to be and the type of team player that I wanted to be. And so, yeah, I've just been thinking about Colonel Mac a lot.
Yeah, like everyone else, there's so many moments that stick out to me. I think probably one of the most best experiences I had when I was in Iraq. I ended up being attached to ODA 183 Special Forces for a month because they needed a combat photographer. They needed someone to document their operations. And this was a small Special Forces unit, and they were working with the Iraqi Special Forces, most of whom were made up of Kurdish Peshmerga and people who had fought in the Iran-Iraq War. And I spent a month living and going on operations with these guys. And it was absolutely amazing. They never once questioned or brought up my gender. I was just there. And the stories I learned from these guys, both the Iraqis and the Special Forces guys, was just was really eye-opening, and it was really great to see them working together because, you know, we'd spent a lot of our time in Iraq working with the Iraqi police and the Iraqi army, and there was often a lot of tension and a lot of friction between them. And with these two groups, there was none of that. I mean, we would sit together, you know, in the same tent and watch movies and then, you know, play music. And we did have a translator, but he wasn't always there, and we were still able to communicate with these guys, even necessarily without a translator. And we learned that one of them had always wanted to open a beauty salon. Like, he was a threader. This guy who fought in the Iran-Iraq war, was Iraqi Special Forces, just wanted to open a beauty salon and cut hair and thread people's eyebrows. And I was just like, what is going on right now? And like, you know, and I remember we were listening to Ben Folds 5, and one of the guys was just like in love with one of the songs and kept playing it over and over and over, to the point where we had to be like, stop playing Brick on repeat. We get it. We love it. So yeah.
Megan, what about you?
I definitely have to say the camaraderie. Definitely the camaraderie in all forms that it came in. There's actually two moments that come to mind for, well, there's a lot more than two, but two that really strike my mind in particular. One, in boot camp, there was a young lady that had joined who had never taken a shower before. And so our drill instructors actually had picked me and another recruit to show her on our spare time by the numbers how to take a shower. And of course, it was gladly, you know, we were glad to help, glad to show her how to do it. Happy to show her how to put makeup on for the first time, because she'd never done that before. How to do her hair a certain way. So that definitely goes to show you the diversity involved when you get to places like that. And you know, and of course, you know, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and that comes in many forms. So it's like, you know, you want everybody to be up to par, and to help out like that is fantastic. And then another moment for me, I'd say, when I was driving trucks at Edson Range, pulling water bowls, things like that for the recruits to have their fresh water. During the Marine Corps birthday, a couple years that I was there, you know, there were some drill instructors and some Marines that were working out in the field that were not able to enjoy good meals because, you know, they have MREs out there, and, you know, who wants to eat an MRE during the Marine Corps birthday? So I'd go to the mess hall and I'd grab some lobster and some steaks and whatever I could, and put them in a bunch of to-go things, and I'd bring them out there and made sure they had good meals, and they were very grateful for that. So you know, I mean, I've always been very maternal like that. So, you know, taking care of people, and so I mean, definitely learned from a lot of people too. But I'd say, you know, definitely the camaraderie was fantastic. I loved it.
And Shannon, I think that, you know, you kind of all possess that mindset. What's the phrase that you said? People, mission first, people, what was it that you said? Mission first.
People always.
People always. I feel like you, all of you, I can see you all possess that mindset. And that's why I absolutely love working with the military community and have for the past 15 years. So thank you all.
You embody a lot of those traits, Gina. You're an excellent leader.
Thank you. I wanted to mention, if you guys want to check out more about the organization, please, you know, visit pinupsforvets.com. You can find out all about our mission. You can also get our new 2021 calendar, which actually features 12 incredible female veterans. This is our 15th annual calendar, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback about it so far. So thank you all. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Want to remind everyone, thank you, Gina, that if you still have 10 more minutes from now, if you want to grab one of those 1-on-5 video chats that we're going to do starting at the top of the hour, wizardworldvirtual.com. Go there right now. Just want to shout out a few people. We had so many comments on all the chat platforms. So thank you. Kerry Hansen, an Army veteran, Jim Leffler, Air Force. Thank you so much. Jan Law, Germany, active in service, Ralph Buck, Navy retiree, Jeff Healy out in New Jersey. All of you, thank you so much for your comments and your questions. Had another one, Troy Donnell Garner just says he enjoys seeing military women in movies and television taking charge. Demi Moore, Emily Blunt come to mind first. So that's certainly, come a long way from Private Benjamin, maybe as a formative film and first introducing people to what women can do in the military. But just all of you, want to thank everyone today for being part of this, both the fans out there who support this, and we're in all our chat rooms, and you ladies, of course. Don't forget, right now, everyone, go to wizardworldvirtual.com, click on that Pinups for Vets. And if you're watching this later, please go to pinupsforvets.com to get this calendar, because it's a great cause. It's supporting veterans, and there's nothing more important to us in the world today than to support our veterans, obviously, here in the U.S. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. For Gina and Lindsay and Megan and Jennifer and Shannon, I'm Jerry Milani. Thanks so much for joining us, and hope to see you soon here at wizardworldvirtual.com. Thanks so much, everyone.